the stream. I'll confirm and make sure. Often what I do here in the beginning is I just make sure that we actually are streaming out across the web for everybody. But wanted to bring you an update here. We have a lot of folks, obviously, that are at the beaches, and we've got a storm coming in out of Manchester, New Hampshire that you can see behind me here that has a history now of producing wind gusts of 47 miles per hour at the Manchester-Boston Regional Airport. We do have reports of damage coming out of Nashua, New Hampshire from the Skywarn Spotter Network. So we know that this is a bona fide damaging storm that is coming in right now. Of course, we've got frequent lightning that's associated with it as well. We'll take a closer look here in just a moment. So the thought process here is we wanted to come on for a couple of reasons. One, because we've got folks that are at our beaches right now, and obviously that's going to be an issue for folks. You're going to need to get off the beaches if these storms hold together. Now, right now, they are holding their own. They're not strengthening as they approach the beaches. They're holding their own, but they're closing in about 45 minutes out now, probably from arrival to Hampton Seabrook. Salisbury is going to be on the southern edge of these storms, and then when you get up to Sebago Lake, we've got storms coming in on top of the lake right now. So boaters on Sebago Lake should get in off the lake. We've also been following storms that have been along Lake Champlain. So we've got a lot to cover with you here. Let me go ahead and stop the loop. We'll bring you up into the current imagery and give you an idea. We'll go from south to north. Right now you can see the heavier downpours and thunder located over Derry and Chester. Let me see if I can go ahead and bring the graphics up a little bit larger for you so you can get a better idea of what we're looking at. So right now you can see at Derry, New Hampshire's got the heaviest of the downpours. The lightning is right around Chester. If we zoom in a little bit more, you'll start to see the strike show up a little bit better. And those are what you're seeing with the light white that shows up with the lightning stroke that's right over center of Chester right now, then extends back over 93. One of the things I can tell you with regard to areas of the beaches is that right now we are seeing the lightning strike amount come down just a little bit. It's becoming less frequent. It's becoming more scattered. So that certainly is good news, and we'll watch to see if we get a continued weakening trend on approach here for places like Salisbury, Seabrook, and Hampton, all the way up through Rye and Portsmouth. There is more in the way of lightning up around Raymond, and then in terms of what's going on at Sebago, let me go ahead and bring you over to the Gray Main National Weather Service radar so you get a better look at that. We'll go ahead and shift our view farther to the north. You can see at Kennebunk, it's fairly weak stuff that's coming out of Farmington right now. Not much in the way of lightning with that. Here's Sebago. Brand new severe thunderstorm warning has just been issued moments ago for Naples, Raymond, Casco, and Gray. So north side of Sebago Lake falls into this severe thunderstorm warning. Just a reminder that, of course, you can get lightning striking up to 10 miles outside of the storm. That would include the entirety of Sebago Lake. But in terms of the center of that storm that's moving east, it looks like an arrival time to Naples on the core of the storm at about 12:58 p.m. The only thing that I'll remind you of is that you can see where that core is located. That's where there's a little bit of hail and the most lightning right now, but you do have, of course, the storm extending out, so I would shave at least 15 to 20 minutes off that time, and that puts you out really somewhere over the course of, about the next 5 or 6 minutes on the rain beginning, the lightning potential within about the next 8 minutes or so, and then that would continue to move east with the core coming in after that. Denmark's also got some thunder and lightning. It's pretty substantial right now, and that's moving to the east and going to come over the northern end of Sebago Lake as well. What I'll do is I'll switch back over to the overall radar view because I want to take you also to what's happening farther to the north. You can see Norway, Oxford, Poland, and Lewiston all in a severe thunderstorm warning out of the National Weather Service office in Gray, Maine. Again, we have not seen severe thunderstorm warnings issued for southeast New Hampshire. However, we have seen damage done. I think I mentioned to you already that we've got wind damage reports out of Nashua. The good news is we've seen a continued and gradual weakening on those storms as they continue to move east. But I'm going to stay with you for a while here because I want to make sure that everybody gets the continued updates so that if you are at the beaches, you're well taken care of. Let's see, hearing from folks that there's no sound on the YouTube channel, which would be unfortunate if that is really the case. So hopefully folks are indeed able to hear me here. That should be what's happening. But I would obviously encourage everybody to go to livestream.onedegreeoutside.com. That's where we've got everything going. And I tell you what, this is something that it's meant to be interactive. So why don't I go ahead and just actually try to make sure that we truly do have sound that's coming across. And feel free, by the way, to chime in if you want. It's Karen, you're watching on Twitch. Hopefully you've got sound, and hopefully you can hear just fine with what I've got going on here. But nonetheless, please let me know if you are hearing me or you aren't, so at least I know whether or not I need to stand down and make a little bit of tweaks here with what's happening. But nonetheless, I'll keep going until I hear otherwise from you. So let's go ahead and take the view farther to the north and west, and we'll get up by Burlington, Vermont. And this is where we have a severe thunderstorm warning, and the center of the storm now is directly over Burlington. I can actually switch over to another representation. I've got a different radar program that will allow us a little bit better view of what's going on in Burlington. So let me shift the view to the north, and we'll zoom things in a little bit. If you're along the Champlain Lake shoreline, hopefully you're tucked in already. Try to get some of the advisories out of the social media earlier here, just about a half hour ago as the storms were approaching the Champlain Valley. So ideally, that's what you're seeing now is you've already kind of tucked in, you're already safe. And from Milton to Burlington, here comes the thunderstorms. Again, with this one, we have no history of wind damage just yet, but we do have lightning, and the lightning has been occasional. I wouldn't call it overly frequent. It's not a wall of lightning coming across Lake Champlain, but we did, we just got a couple of strikes now north and east of Burlington coming in around the Milton area. So this has been one spot that you've had some cloud to ground lightning. So these are the areas that we're watching. If I zoom things out a little bit, you get a better idea that basically from the Mass New Hampshire border, now at the 495 belt, you also have some of these thunderstorms trying to close in on the interstate. And then northern Maine's been a mess. We continue with a severe thunderstorm warning now across portions of northern Maine, including Presque Isle. And this severe thunderstorm warning is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Let me get it from behind my head so you can see a little bit better there. So nonetheless, you can clearly see where that is right up over Holton and Presque Isle. We do have reports in this area of hail. You can see in terms of the hail report, it's been on this size about 1.3 inches, I believe, is what they got on a report out of the hail there. So in northern Maine, there's no question that we've been looking at what, for many of us anyhow, has been a setup for hail. You've gotten a lot of frequent lightning that's been coming out of it as well, but obviously the concern now is shifting down toward the beaches in southern Maine. So what I am going to do is I'll swing you back over to the other imagery, and we'll take a view down to southeast New Hampshire again, because this is one area that we're watching. Sebago Lake remains under a severe thunderstorm warning on the north side. Skywarn spotter network saying New Ipswich, New Hampshire. Just in that a large tree is down on River Road near Lower River Road. A little more detail on New Ipswich and Nashua reports continuing to come in as we continue to look at what has been damage at Nashua, New Hampshire. 12:25 p.m. that damage was done. Trees and wires down in the area of 105 Blossom Street, according to the Skywarn spotter network. I think I've told you before that we have teamed up with the Skywarn spotter network across southern and central New England. And by doing that, essentially every time you send to us any updates in the Send to Us tab, which is right on our app. If you go into the app and you go to Send to Us, you can send us reports and photos. That goes immediately and directly relayed to the National Weather Service Skywarn spotter network so that the government gets those updates, and also it goes out to the greater population. So anytime you send us an update through the Send to Us tab, just know that you are helping out the meteorological community at large. All right, back down to southern New Hampshire. Sandown now underneath these storms. Good news here is the lightning is starting to decrease. So I'm looking at a couple of different lightning products. The one that you're seeing on your screen, I can zoom you in a little bit more, and as I take you in, you'll see that since we had that strike right over center Chester, we have not seen a new strike come out of that one yet. So as it comes into Sandown, at this point, it's trying to transition over to essentially just downpour. Same thing up by Raymond as it comes in over 125 at Epping. We don't right now have any new cloud-to-ground lightning strikes with that. I can confirm that through multiple lightning detection networks using what you're seeing here is the National Lightning Detection Network, and that's what you see in most spots. I do also have another site that's up that if you like to reference this stuff at home, if you're really into weather, it's called blitzertongue.org. It is an international group that actually has put together a really fascinating lightning network as well. So I use both of those to try to map out exactly where our lightning is. Noticing a stronger storm core developing over Windham, New Hampshire, directly at I-93 right now, crossing Route 111. That's going to head directly into Salem, Tuscan Village, so that's going to be one area that it's about to downpour. So if you happen to be watching us on a phone or a mobile device there at either Tuscan Village or Rockingham Plaza, just understand you got a pretty good downpour. You can see those black clouds on the western sky. That'll be on top of you soon. Atkinson Country Club, going to be another spot that'll be under the gun here for heavy rain that's going to come in, although notice you've right now anyway got a little bit of a split to the Atkinson Country Club and the Atkinson Plastow area. You've got most of the downpour to your south. The only thing I would do is say, let's go ahead and loop this over the last 15 minutes so we can see together. Yeah, one of the things you got to watch out for is if you watch that little cell over Wyndham, it's actually moving east-northeast. So that tells me that that downpour and possible cloud-to-ground lightning will be reaching up toward Atkinson, Plastow. Hampstead's already getting into some of it on the northern side anyway, but just be advised you've got that coming in. Boaters on the Merrimack River. So you've got cloud-to-ground strikes that are to your north. You can hear the rumbles right now. If you're watching from your boat out on the river at Newburyport at the mouth of the Merrimack, Salisbury, you've got time, at least on the order of about a half hour. This stuff's only moving about 20 miles an hour as it comes in. What I can actually do for you is I've already set the speed, so why don't I go ahead and just map it out, and you can see, I mean, someplace like Salisbury, mouth of the Merrimack, you're still probably talking about 145 or so on arrival, so you may have as much as an hour. Latest scan came in. I always like to be a little bit careful and take off about 10 minutes on that, so I would say make it about 1:30 to 1:45 on a likely arrival time when that makes it in on you. So just so you know, that's what we're watching there. We do have an outflow boundary that's showing up. What you're seeing here, and I can go ahead and telestrate on it for you, but what you're seeing right in here is essentially a gust of wind that has come out from the storms, and it's cooler air. Keep in mind, this is a warm, humid day. So when you get that gust of wind that comes out and it's bringing with it cool air, what you're doing is essentially creating a wind convergence zone. The wind is coming together. That can touch off brand new showers and storms, and that's what you're seeing happening over 495. A lot of this stuff, not a big deal, but you can see that downpour over Chelmsford that's taken off. That is a product of the outflow boundary or the cool air exhaust that's coming out of those storms over southern New Hampshire. So just something to keep in mind that we are right now at least watching that outflow boundary to see if that stuff over Chelmsford is going to strengthen as it comes over Route 38 in Tewksbury. Farther off to the north, again, we're watching Hampton, Seabrook, Salisbury, Rye, Portsmouth on storms coming in from the west. Right now, the lightning amount has been decreasing substantially on approach, which is certainly a good thing. Still, I think that we'll continue to watch this for you because I do want to make sure that if you're watching us from the beach, look, it's no fun to be out there in the downpour anyway, right? But the thing is, do you just head to the car or do you decide you're going to call it a day? I wouldn't call it a day. I think that as this approaches, certainly the chance of even an isolated lightning strike is enough that you don't necessarily want to be sitting out there and taking my word on the fact that there hasn't been one lately. But I'll also tell you that this is going to move through fairly quickly. I mean, you've got an hour or so that it comes through, and then it moves on its merry way. The sun comes back out, and you end up with temperatures rebounding back into the 80s again, and you wait for the next round of storms, which is still probably going to be a couple of hours off, I would imagine. All right, looks like the storm off to the north over Sebago is starting to get stronger, so why don't we switch the radar up to the gray main radar. Here we go. And again, what you're seeing now, Standish, Maine, Buxton, Maine. Buxton's going to be right on the south side of this thing, but bottom line, as this storm continues to move to the north and east, Leamington probably about 114 this afternoon. You get it on top of you. Naples, remember, Naples is in on the rain already. We talked about this last time with Naples, that the rain is running ahead of the storm core. So the time you're seeing here is the time for the storm core itself to arrive. One thing that I might do, brand new marine warning now is out. So again, for folks, this is the nice thing about a digital network is that if you watch us anywhere, you can watch us on the boat, you can see what's happening. So if you are right now anywhere from, let's say, mouth of the Merrimack River through Portsmouth Harbor, running up through Casco Bay and all the way up to Rockland, you get a marine warning that's been issued until 2:45 this afternoon. So we're going to stay with you as the storms come in. Pretty obvious when you look at this that the worst of the storms is going to be on the north side of this. When you get up around Sebago Lake, this is the one that's coming over Bridgeton. Lewiston's up next. Norway, pretty good storm, severe thunderstorm warning that's moving off to the east-northeast. So after Lewiston, you're going to be out toward Augusta and Gardner. Interesting. Okay, Skywarn Spotter Network letting us know. Remember we just talked about Plastow. Let's take the view down south. Plastow, New Hampshire. Southeast New Hampshire, going to swing the radar out of Massachusetts where you'll get a little bit better view. Man, this is exactly what I was talking about. So, Plastow, New Hampshire, here you go. Right at the center of your screen right now, okay? Just go, oops, sorry, I tried to do Telestrator. I need to do one more move there. Just got a report now from Skywarn Spotter Network that Plastow, New Hampshire has a dispatch for a large branch that fell on a car, smashing a windshield at 240 Main Street. Fire and EMS en route to that. Keep in mind that we're talking about a gust front that came through, an outflow boundary. Plastow, New Hampshire is absolutely positively not even into the storm itself yet. That has just come into Hampstead Center, and it's coming out of Wyndham over 111. So what Plastow saw is what's now coming into West Newbury, Groveland, Merrimack, and Haverhill, which is that outflow boundary. My guess on this is that we probably were talking about wind gusts on the order of 40 miles per hour. You probably, in this particular instance, had some sort of a weakened limb. I mean, I'm throwing it out there, but admittedly, I think that probably is a pretty good guess. One thing that I can do right now, too, is I can actually go ahead and let me see if I can pull up what's going on. Lawrence Airport, which actually is right outside from our office. We're very close to the Lawrence Airport at our studios here. But nonetheless, let me see if I can pull up the report out of Lawrence, because I told you earlier that Manchester-Boston Regional Airport had gusted to 47 miles per hour. I would love to see exactly what we've got going on in the Merrimack Valley. All right, so latest report out of Lawrence was 12:40, about 13 minutes ago, and they were still only going at 12, gusting to 17 miles an hour. So again, I have to figure this was probably kind of a localized outflow burst that happened in Plastow out ahead of the storm. But it's worth noting, obviously, because if it caused damage there, it may cause damage in places like Kingston or Amesbury as it comes in, or Seabrook or Exeter. So that's what we're going to be watching really carefully. One thing that I'll do is I'll zoom in a little bit closer so we can see the lightning strikes. You don't see any over Danville right now, so I can't promise you there won't be any, but even when you get up around Newmarket and Lee, this storm core is not producing lightning right now on the National Lightning Detection Network. And I can also tell you that that it's producing, we've got one isolated strike on that international network I was telling you about right underneath that center at Newmarket. Taking a look at your comments that are coming in on the chat right now. Thank you to everybody who's joining us. Always appreciate the updates. Thank you. Enjoy being here. All right, sound in Lyman, Maine. Very good. Oh, good. You sound on the video. Good. Dime-sized hail and heavy winds and rain in Conway, New Hampshire. All right, that's great to know. Really appreciate that report, Linda Burns. And so that's what now has made its way toward the main turnpike. So that gives you confirmation from Linda, and this is why doing something interactive together is always really beneficial and really helpful, right? Because we now know that we've got small hail in addition to frequent lightning coming out of Newfield and making its way out toward Buxton and Standish. So appreciate that. Debbie saying keep it away from Haverhill. All right, we'll do our best, Debbie. We at least right now have that outflow boundary that just moved through. You probably felt the air cool off. If you're up around in Haverhill, North Broadway, Lake Street, Crystal Lake area, running up to, again, as I mentioned earlier, Atkinson Country Club, rain's coming in. We can't keep that away from North Haverhill, but we can keep the heavy stuff away for now anyway. Little Sebago thundering. Thank you, Justine. Really appreciate that. Dustin, at least 50-mile-an-hour gusts in Haverhill snapped a lot of limbs. All right, so Skywarn spotters, if you're watching our live stream right now, hopefully you're getting that. We'll go ahead and make sure that we relay that as well. And mentioning Haverhill on live stream, so if they're not watching, they'll be able to hear. Thank you for the report there. Very much appreciate you letting us know what's going on with that. So this is very much a fluid situation, but an interactive one. One of the things that Danielle and I did for years is we broadcast, right? We were telling you how it was going to be and how it was, but we couldn't hear back from you. So that's one of the really special things about doing this with the live stream, is that you have the capability to chat with us. We have a couple of different ways to chat. I try to bring them all together in one place on my end of it. But if you're watching us on Twitch, which is livestream.onedegreeoutside.com, if you're watching us on our YouTube live stream, you're able to chat with us there. You're also, if you're watching us on X, able to chat with us by commenting on the live stream. I'll see that here as well. Alton Bay's got clearing and bright skies now, according to Gina. Thank you, Gina, for the update there. You're on the backside of these storms. Just so you know, Gina, you're going to want to be on guard again later on in the day. We've got more storms that are coming in. In fact, we haven't done a New England view in a little while, so why don't we go ahead and do that? I'll go ahead and switch us over to the composite view so we can get an idea of what's going on in a bigger picture. So you've got the severe thunderstorm warnings you've been dealing with on the north side of Sebago Lake, right? But we also have severe thunderstorm warnings that remain in effect for Burlington, Vermont. We talked about this earlier, almost the entirety of Lake Champlain with cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. Good news is, if you've been watching us and tucked in around Burlington and Lake Champlain, you are able now to at least start thinking about getting back out. Not yet, not yet. You still have lightning strikes that are coming over Burlington. Obviously, you can hear the thunder. We'd like you to wait a half hour after that last thunder rumbles away, but at least you know there's a back edge coming in, and you know you can get ready to go and enjoy a little bit here again as we get into the afternoon. And that's a big part of why I want to bring you these updates, because yes, I want to keep you aware of what's going on, but I want to make sure that you're also aware of when it's done and when it's through. So someplace like Gina at Alton Bay, you can see you're on the backside, and there is no more, Gina, no more thunder and lightning. Let me make sure. I'm going to check on the international network as well. Yeah, so there is no more thunder and lightning anywhere close to you. It's all out by Sebago. It's not coming in anytime soon. Just so you know, when you get around Lake Winnipesaukee, we did have trees and wires down along Bean Road in Moulton Borough, so there was some damage done. It was very spotty for us overall. So again, kind of if you're just checking in, it's great to have you with us. We are getting updates from you in our chat. We really appreciate that. Dustin McIver checking in out of Haverhill and saying that we ended up with at least 50-mile-an-hour gusts snapping a lot of limbs. Dustin, I would assume that's probably estimated rather than observed, but feel free to let me know in the chat if it's otherwise. No rain. The temp dropped 15 degrees in a matter of minutes. So again, that is what we were talking about with that outflow boundary that was kind of what we call almost the exhaust system, so to speak, on what you're getting coming out of these storms. Okay, let's zoom back into the beaches and see what's going on here. Let me see if I can get that marine warning to go away. It's there we go. It's, of course, I put it back on as soon as I get it off. All right, it's whatever. We'll go ahead and take a look at the beaches and see what we've got happening now. Hampton, Seabrook, you're waiting on that incoming downpour that's over Kingston. Still no cloud-to-ground lightning reported out of Hampstead. Danville, Hampstead had no strikes. Danville, Kingston, no strikes on the national or international detection network, but that's an uncomfortably strong core of downpour right there. So I would say you've still got the chance that you're going to get a cloud-to-ground lightning strike here as it continues to move east. We can give you another kind of time estimate on this, so you get a little bit of a feel for when the leading edge arrives at different spots. Kensington, basically momentarily, within the next 10 minutes. Hampton, if it holds together to you, coming out to Hampton Center, probably about 125. Out to the beach, maybe more like 131 on its current pace. So we'll continue to watch to see what we get in terms of strength on that and see if it comes down at all. Farther to the north, take good care of you. If you're up around Sebago Lake, we'll switch back over to the gray main radar, which will get us a better view of what's happening around Sebago. Sebago's been right under the heart of the storm now, so it continues to move along off to the east, and now we're going to continue to see that develop farther off east and make its way out toward Raymond and Gray. But here we go again, Sebago kind of right underneath the center of the storm here as it comes overhead. So hang on, Raymond. You've got it 302, the heavy rain. It's starting to spread in, and you've got a lot of lightning down to the south. Let's zoom that in a little bit. Standish, look at that core of lightning now that's coming out of East Baldwin and Steep Falls. This is going to continue to move east to Harmon Beach. So if you know somebody who's out at Harmon Beach right now on the south side of Sebago Lake, listen, the problem is they're not in a severe thunderstorm warning. So nobody's phone has gone off for a warning unless you have our app along the south side of the lake. It's only been up at Raymond on the north side of Sebago. So if you know folks who are out on the boat or are at the beach at south side of Sebago Lake, they are not getting a warning from the government currently because there's no severe thunderstorm warning. Look, severe thunderstorm warnings only have to do with damage, wind damage, or large hail. Nothing to do with lightning. Obviously, on a day like today, you've got a holiday, 3rd of July. This is a huge day where lightning makes a big difference. There are multiple reasons I won't get into right now as to why warnings don't hinge on lightning, but that's what we wanted to come on and be able to update you on. So, again, one of the things that I'll probably do here, and it's a bit of multitasking, I would like to go ahead and for our folks who are at Sebago Lake, I'm going to go ahead and issue a push alert on our app so that they're able to see that. So that does mean that there's a slight kind of a delay or slowdown for you in terms of the fact that I'm doing that off to the side. But nonetheless, I think it's important to do for the folks who are out there. So let me go ahead and just draw this. And actually, you know what? on second thought, I tell you what, it's on second thought, it's so far on top of them. This is one of the things I consider too. It's so much on top of them that they presumably have seen the dark clouds and the light strikes of lightning off to the west by now. So the good news is we did get a push notification out before I came on to the live stream with you. So they had a good hearty warning out at Sebago Lake here, which is probably what brought you here as well. Buxton and Gorham, you're on the south side. No damage on the south side of the storm. It's not strong enough right now. But again, that core of lightning, one that we'll watch. Farther to the north, if you're watching us from other main lakes, from Poland to Oxford to Paris, you've got the downpours headed out toward Livermore, Leeds, Turner, and Greene. No immediate reports of any damage coming so far out of that area, but we'll keep an eye out, particularly in Bridgeton, Maine, for the area that we ended up just seeing. Weather station in Haverhill, going back to Haverhill, Mass, because we had that report from Dustin of estimating 50 miles per hour. The weather station reports gusted 31 in one spot, 34 at another. But again, Dustin, I'm sure you were locally higher, absolutely, where you ended up seeing that damage, and we really appreciate that you sent that along, because that's something that we can really make actionable and help others out with. So let's check the chat again, because again, this is not about broadcasting. This is about interacting with you. Paul says, phenomenal coverage. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you and Danielle working. Thank you very much. Brief gust of 40 to 45 in Pelham an hour or so ago as the outflow pushed through. Paul, isn't it something? This is an interesting outflow event. We don't often, folks, see a well-developed outflow like this, but that's what we saw this time. And actually, look at this. The leading edge to the outflow now just touched off another down. Oops, I did it again. Got to get my telestrator going. There we go. Just touched off another downpour at Acton, Maynard. So Woburn's about to get some of that outflow. Highly unlikely this far from the storms that you're going to find wind damage done like we saw in Haverhill. You can see how much closer someplace like Haverhill is to the storms than where you are down in the I-95 corridor, but you're absolutely going to feel that real gust of wind come in. Look at this. Another storm, another downpour. No thunder and lightning with it yet. Developing over Westboro. That's going to continue to move east along and just north of the Mass Turnpike. But that, too, is developing some outflow on the south side of it. So you're going to get a little gust of cool wind coming through Sutton and Upton. And it's warm enough and humid enough now that we certainly can end up with new storms developing along this, just like we saw happen at Westboro. I'll watch it for lightning. You don't have any yet. You've got downpour, and that's about it. But that just came over 122. It's coming up over 135. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. And that, of course, is going to mean that we're watching Boston really carefully, too, right? Because part of the issue here, and if we loop things through over the last, let's say, 30 minutes or so, the storms generally have an eastward motion. They've been on the order of about 20 miles per hour. They're scattered, but it's important for Boston because, remember, folks are out there today at the Esplanade because this is the rehearsal for the Boston Pops, right? So folks like to get their spot in the afternoon. So if you are watching us from the city, just keep in mind that we're going to continue to live stream with you and keep you posted on what's going on. Right now, most of our action has been farther to the north. So we're coming up in the witching hour here around the beaches. You can see that we now have the downpours coming in across 108. So essentially from Kensington to Stratham to Newington, and these are going to come to the beach. So let me go ahead and draw out a Townsend time for you. We'll take it from the leading edge on the downpours. We'll bring it out. The speed on these is, as I mentioned, about 20 miles an hour. So here's your Townsend times. I'll put them on the screen, but if you're listening instead, bottom line, Portsmouth, leading edge in at 115. Northampton, leading edge in at about 120. Rye, about 121. Newcastle, about 122. If you're out at Wentworth by the sea, this is going to be about a 120, 122 arrival time for you. What does this mean if you're watching from the beach? Look, we are now getting some lightning strikes starting again at Durham, New Hampshire. So this will go through Newington, Kittery, and Portsmouth. I cannot tell you that there won't be lightning. That would not be responsible because it's been isolated, but all it takes is one strike. I see that we had another strike at Epping as well. This looks right now, unless we get a strengthening of that downpour that's over Kensington, it looks right now like the greatest chance for lightning, and I'll draw it out on the map for you, is generally going to be from Stratham to Durham and then running across the coast, all right, and making its way through Portsmouth Harbor, Kittery. So these will be the spots where the lightning core appears to be going. If we're going to see a lightning core coming out of here. Right now, there is no lightning coming into Kensington at this point. But if you're going to see lightning regenerate with it, here's your towns and times on when the lightning core would be with you. Someplace like Hampton, 122, the core of that storm is going to be overhead. Again, I can tell you that within the last 15 to 20 minutes, there's been no lightning reported out of that or detected on the National Lightning Detection Network or the international Blitzertongue site that I was telling you about that I really love. But nonetheless, that is the one core that you got to watch real carefully here. And again, we're down to about 15 minutes on arrival for you. This stuff down to the south of the Merrimack Valley at Andover, it's raining on you, and if you're just watching, I can tell you it's not producing any lightning right now. Even the stuff that's a little bit stronger heading into Concord, Carlisle, or making its way toward Lexington and Lincoln down Route 2, that's not producing any lightning. The stuff over Westboro is getting stronger, though. That developed in some pretty humid air, so that may end up starting to develop lightning strikes. So far, no lightning on that on either network, so I guess there's good news there. Go back to the chat here to get the updates from each of you who are checking in, because again, one of the things about this, it is interactive. It's not just something that's intended to be a broadcast. In Raymond, you can hear the thunder starting again. Thank you, Amy. Really appreciate the update there. When's it coming to the Connecticut River Valley? All right, Kevin, great question. I will answer that in just a second. Liz says, will we be getting rain in North Andover? So answer on that, Liz, is yes. You can see the rain coming in on top of you. However, someplace like North Andover, you're right on the north side, so chances are very good that it depends on where you are. If you're, let's say, somewhere farther down Salem Street or 114, you've got a better chance of getting into the north side of this rain. If you're up around, let's say, the Lawrence line in around Sutton Street, then chances are good. It may, let's go ahead and put this into motion so that I make sure that I'm giving you good info. I think you may stay just look at that. Yeah, just on the north side, depending on what side of North Andover that you're in. All right, so the question came in about, okay, so what time in the Connecticut River Valley? I'm really glad you asked that question, Kevin. And let me switch over here to a different setup that's going to show you. I've got it prepped for you already because I knew eventually that question would come up. Let me switch over to our forecast, all right? Okay. So here's our forecast. You should be seeing that on your screen right now. Let me just make sure. Yep, you are. Good. So let me go ahead and play things out. You can see the departure of the storms over the New Hampshire seacoast. They may actually still hold their strength on the north side of Casco Bay and Harpswell and then going all the way up the main turnpike. Notice those storms coming out of Burlington. If you're watching and you're hiking right now at Mount Mansfield, Camel's Hump, if you're at Lake Memphremagog in northern Vermont, which is a big spot for a lot of folks to go, if you're in the Whites, just keep in mind that these storms coming out of Vermont, they are probably going to hold together. We think this is a multiple round of storms kind of day. So at 3 p.m., you've got them coming over St. Jay and making their way through Lyndonville and then crossing the Connecticut River Valley so that by the time we get into the later afternoon, they're back in on top not only of the White Mountains, but down through Plymouth, probably Newfound Lake, Lake Winnipesaukee. You get into it again as we get into 4:15, 4:30. Now, the reason I say, Kevin, I'm really glad you asked about the Pioneer Valley. When you look at this particular forecast, we see that there's some sort of a trigger that actually first comes into lower, I'll go backwards a little, first comes into lower Connecticut River Valley, maybe around 4. And then the trigger continues probably through about, what do you got there, about 7, all right? The reason that I'm a little bit concerned about the Pioneer Valley, lower Connecticut River Valley, actually, the indications from the guidance so far today, and I'm going to swing you over to something else here in a second. The indications from the guidance so far today is that you actually may see some of the strongest and most damaging storms of anybody in the lower Connecticut River Valley and the Pioneer Valley. Will that actually be the case? I don't know, but when I compare what's been going on in northern New England, there was about a 45% chance of damage within about 30 miles of any given spot there. There's about, to put it in perspective, a 60% chance of damage being done in someplace like the Pioneer Valley later on this afternoon. This is your current thunderstorm energy that's available. You can see why most of the action has been up in Maine, right? Because that's where most of the thunderstorm energy has been available. Right now, that stuff trying to develop out of Westboro, even though I told you it may produce some lightning, an isolated lightning strike, you can also see that the thunderstorm energy is fairly low. But notice it's rebuilding out by Winchendon. Notice it's rebuilding through the Pioneer Valley. It's rebuilding at Northampton and Amherst. This is why we say it's a multiple round of storms kind of day. because there'll be more that'll have to come in after that. And if we look at the 6-hour forecast on thunderstorm energy, again, I'll go through a couple hours at a time. Let's just take you out through about 3 o'clock, 3:15, or I guess 2:45 in the afternoon. See that thunderstorm energy building out of Connecticut, building in central Mass, rebuilding in parts of southern New Hampshire. And then if I go out farther in time and I take you out deeper into the afternoon at about 5 o'clock or so, now you're really starting to pick up moderate storm energy from Waterbury to Hartford to Windsor Locks to Springfield and Amherst. You've got another pocket that's going to develop in around the Metro West. Now you say, well, what about Cape Cod? We've got some there too. Not impossible we get a storm on Cape Cod today, although also I think the trigger comes in later on in the evening. My concern for you actually might be more toward fireworks time on someplace like the Cape. And then by 7 p.m., notice that thunderstorm energy isn't going down in someplace like the lower Connecticut River Valley. So I hope that answers the question for you, which is basically 4 p.m. onward looks to be the most likely time that you'd be dealing with something like that coming on through. We continue to watch the severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect when you get across northern reaches of Vermont. Again, I mentioned Lake Memphremagog was going to be up next. So you can see there is Lake Memphremagog, and you've got the storms now coming over Sutton. There's a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning about to come into Jay. So if you're watching this from Jay, Vermont, Jay Peak, you're doing some golfing, just keep in mind that it's water park time instead. Oh, I don't know. Do they keep it going? It's indoors. I would think it's grounded, right? They tell you never to be in the water. But nonetheless, I don't know what they do with that. I was making light of it. But nonetheless, time to get off the golf course is the bottom line. Lake Memphremagog, time to get the boat in within the next 10 minutes to 15 minutes or so, because you've still got that coming in across you. And here's that line of storms. It runs right up through northern Maine. This has been maybe one of the longest duration, longest running severe thunderstorm warnings in a while when you get around Aroostook County. Presque Isle, we've had this going on quite some time. We've had multiple rounds of thunder come through. You can see that we've got reports now, the hail, mostly nickel-sized, a few up to $half size that came through right around Presque Isle or at Westfield, Maine. And then another report, what's this one? This is also out of Westfield. Again, same thing. Okay, it looks like they updated that report is what happened there. But nonetheless, you get the idea. Northern Maine's been under the gun. So if you're just joining us, let me check the chat again and see exactly what we have that's coming in from you. By the way, everywhere you see one of those little gusty wind circles is where we've had some amount of damage that's been reported so far today. If you are just joining, thanks for making 1 degree outside your go-to for weather. Want to let you know that we don't always come live if there's not something really high-end for storminess. But with this now coming up on the beaches, we thought this was a really good move to let folks know what's happening. So with that, we're going to zoom back in as I continue to check the chat for what it is that you folks are reporting to us. And appreciate everybody. Karen of Mass, I had a large wind gust come right down Route 97, Groveland to Georgetown. Saw some tree branches down. Thank you for that. Melissa, thanks for the compliment. Carol, what about Bartlett, New Hampshire? My daughter's hiking. All right, so Carol, we already had some storms blast through Bartlett. So if you've heard from your daughter and she's still doing well, then she's got a little bit of time, but please let her know. And she's been through, that was a rough storm that came through Bartlett. So she went through it in terms of that storm coming by. I would imagine that had to be somewhat scary for her being out in that. But there was a lot of lightning with it was the big thing. But now you can see that next line of storms coming out of Burlington. We're going to watch that for someplace like Bartlett, Intervale, and Glen. And the reason is because that southern side may start to intensify a little bit. Let me check what we've got in terms of heat and humidity up there. What have we rebuilt to? Yeah, the first round of storms really did knock it down. I mean, Plymouth, New Hampshire, 70 degrees right now. Freiburg, Maine is at 66. So there's some hope there that the south side of those storms may be kind of hitting this air that's been beaten up already by the first round of storms. So they may not hold together, but I'm going to keep watch of that for you. I do want to get back down to the beaches. And let's do a quick evaluation in real time. All right, Hampton Beach, the rain is just starting to come to your north. You can see it up by Rye. Chances are good that if you're looking north, you can see the dark cloud, and you just about see the rain shaft come down as well. There is still, to this point, no lightning strike. The downpour has gotten less intense. And again, you can never guarantee that you're not going to get lightning out of the core of a storm. But I can tell you that right now, the trend over the last now 40 minutes or so, 35 minutes, And I keep looking back and forth because I'm looking at an international lightning network as well as our national lightning network, and neither one is showing any lightning over the last 40 minutes until, and this is an important qualifier, until you get to Newington. Yep, there it is too. Okay, there it is. So we've had a couple lightning strikes. I'll circle them for you so you can see them stand out. Let me put the telestrator on and give you a little bit better idea. What do I have to do? I know what I have to do. Stand by. All right. Let's go back to the analysis. There we go. We'll go back and make sure we're on our, there we go. Okay, great. Zoom in. There we go. Great. Okay, there we are. So what I was going to show you is that we have had 2 lightning strikes when you get to the north. So if you're along the beaches of Maine, this is worth being aware of. You got 1 lightning strike just west of Elliott along Route 4. You've had another one that's been just outside of Newmarket. And so this is all part of that core that's headed east. But you can see the one that came out of Newmarket essentially was on the south side of that storm core. So what I'll tell you is that from Portsmouth Harbor, northward through Kittery, into the southern coast of Maine, I think that's going to be your area that we're going to watch, all the way up I-95, Old Orchard, Ogunquit. These are all areas that are still subject to lightning strikes. The farther south you go, I'm not real comfortable with the one that's coming over 101 out of Exeter now, but I can tell you that it has not produced lightning over the last 35 minutes. So that's the realistic, at least, summary of where we stand with that. Let's check the downpours going on down farther to the south. Again, still no lightning coming out of the stuff by Concord and Burlington. And that, okay, the one over Westboro has weakened as it moves east along the Massachusetts Turnpike. So really not much doing with that, except for the fact that if you're out at one of the ponds swimming with the kids and you're watching this right now, chances are good you may end up getting wet. But there's no lightning that you have to be imminently concerned about there, which is always good. Let's go back to the chat. Dawn, when will we see these storms around Bath, Maine? So Dawn, they're closing in on you pretty quick. I mean, if we zoom the view out a little bit more, you get the idea that much of southern Maine all the way up to Casco is now within about, a 10 to 25 minute window in terms of the storms coming in. If I switch the view up farther to the north, here's the stuff that was coming off Sebago and now is coming into Lewiston. Severe thunderstorm warning. Core of the storm on this one, by the way, is going to make it into Lewiston 1:30. Keep in mind, the rain starts sooner, the lightning threat starts sooner. That's the center of the storm. Take about 5 minutes off of that. You got 5 minutes or so before it arrives and gets on top of you at Lewiston. Sabattis will be the same thing. And then when you get farther to the north, this one, Leeds and Wayne. Look, Leeds is right on the edge of the rain already. So the issue here is that we're talking about what's probably going to end up being the core of the storm that may produce at least some spots where you could get some small hailstones that still needs to move through for us as well. All right, so I'll go ahead and I'll wipe those off so that we don't have them right in the way for us. But that's kind of our overview on what we're looking at, both with southern Maine and with what's going on farther to the north. If you're talking about someplace northeast to Casco, so folks, if you're wondering about, Bath, basically when you get to mid-coast, so between Brunswick and Rockland, what we can do is take out the time for you. Let's take this line, all right? Let's bring it east. And right now we're moving at we're picking up a little. We're at about 22. So on the current path, here's your towns and times, right? This takes you out through Cape Elizabeth as we get through about 1:58. But someplace like Bath, I mean, you're still, I would say, a good hour and 15 probably away from it getting in on top of you. And we'll see how well it holds together, because keep in mind at Bath, you've also got a wind that's coming in off the Gulf of Maine, right? And so the Gulf of Maine waters are, I'll say, still cold. They're always cold. So what you're doing is you are going to beat up those storms a little bit on the south side. And actually what I could do for you is, let's go ahead and wipe that off. You can even see down to the south, Portland, Scarborough, and Biddeford, these storms have not gained any strength as they've been coming in because of exactly that. Tree down on a house in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Tree down on wires in Lowell. That courtesy of the Skywarn Spotter Network. Thank you. Appreciate you, Skywarn Spotter Network. So there you go, folks. That is also, by the way, Lawrence and Lowell. I'll switch back over to the Boston radar, because you say, wait a minute, you didn't show us anything with storms down there. Remember what we talked about, right? That was with that gust front, that exhaust of wind, of cold wind that came through when the downpour drove across southern portions of New Hampshire. Haverhill, Mass, we knew first right here in the live stream before any official reports came in. We knew first about what was going on with the damage. And now it's coming in and flowing into Skywarn as well. Haverhill, Mass, tree down on wires was Birch Ave at Mountain Ave. Thank you very much to our Skywarn spotters with that. Carol says, thanks, Matt. Happy 4th to you and Danielle. Thanks, Carol. Happy 4th. Hopefully we won't be hit together again tomorrow. But we'll still have an update for you. Your video will still be out there. Art, little rain in Upton next to Westport. Yes, Art, okay, right. You got a little bit of that. We were watching that together on radar. Really cool to have your real-time report on that. John says, got the warnings. Things were getting dark. Wind picked up, and then poof, it broke up, and we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. I like that. That sounds good to me, John. So good. I'm glad. I'm not sure exactly where you were again. You told me earlier, I believe. I'll scroll back and see. But I'm glad things are going better for you now. Folks, just remember that part of this chat is for us to bring you information here at the 1 Degree Outside Weather Network, but the other part of it is to hear from you. This is not meant to be a television broadcast. This is meant to be a digital interactive experience, right? So you're able to chime in if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching at livestream.onedegreeoutside.com, which is our Twitch live stream. You're able to chime in. We stream this also on Facebook Live. We stream this live also on X, Twitter. So you're able to chime in any of these places. And hopefully I'm seeing everybody's comments as you continue to bring them in. That's the idea, anyways, to be able to see everything as it comes in. And to that end, I'm going to make sure that we don't have anything new that's come in here. Let's see. Sue on Twitter reports in Lawrence, Massachusetts, Route 28 and 114, gusts were 20 to 30 in the Shawsheen Valley. All right, thank you very much, Sue. Really appreciate that you chimed in with that. Thank you. So again, this is a contributory type of thing, right? We encourage you to keep us posted as to what's going on in your neck of the woods. In Maine, this is a big day to cover you. You've had multiple rounds of storms in Lewiston, Maine. You now have the heavy rain just beginning. The center of the storm, the core of the lightning, not the beginning of it, the core of the lightning and the small hail with the possible damaging wind that has resulted in the severe thunderstorm warning. That's going to be coming into Auburn at about 1:35, Lewiston 1:36. So again, while you're just getting into the rain in Lewiston now, you're going to find the core of the storm arriving around 1:36 and Greene about 1:47. Again, your severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect until 1:30 this afternoon for that storm as it comes in. History of wind damage, yes. Big history, no. You had one area where we had wind gusts 50 to 55 along Moose Pond in Denmark. And then right at the Maine-New Hampshire border at Freiburg, you have some wires that came down. So when you look, you say, well, it's not a ton, and it's not. It's not a lot that's come down so far in terms of damage, but we do want you to be prepared for it. And certainly the lightning on a day like today is going to be one of the bigger concerns. Leeds, you're up next. That's going to be continuing to charge off to the north and east and make its way across some of the lakes at Wayne, Mount Vernon, Belgrade. I'd say you've got probably on the order of about 35 minutes at Belgrade before we find the storms coming in on your location. So something to be aware of there anyhow. We'll zoom out a little bit more. I want to update you on what's going on in Vermont. Brand new severe thunderstorm warning in Vermont. Let me see if I can swing you over to one of our other systems that I think is going to do a pretty decent job for us here. So we're going to take you, I'll keep myself in the corner and transition over to another system. So this system here, by the way, we use a lot of different things here at 1 Degree Outside. And this system here is WSV3, for those of you who are really into the weather side of things. What Danielle and I love about this is Paul Maravalis built it right here in New England. It was built in Windham, New Hampshire, believe it or not. Phenomenal software. So what we're using most of the time is Barron software that has great storm tracking, stuff that was developed down in Alabama, but it was developed for a lot of the plain states, Tornado Alley. So that's why we have that system. But this stuff on WSV3 is really, really nice too. You can see this is one of the storm warnings that we've got that's out now. Middlebury, Bristol, and Northfield. Your storm is continuing to move gradually to the east. In terms of towns and times, Bristol about 1:37 and 2:17 at Northfield. And so we're talking about, you know, a storm warning that'll be out for you now. In this particular warning, what do we have an expiration time on? 2:30 in the afternoon. So damaging wind is the concern on this one. One thing we can do is while we're looking at it, let's not go away from it yet. Let's go ahead and take a look at the wind inside the storm. I don't see anything that's immediately, I'm going to go up a level so we can scan different heights in the atmosphere. I don't see anything that's immediately concerning on any type of rotation inside of this storm. This is going to end up being a downburst damaging wind event with lightning. So that's going to be your biggest thing that we're going to have coming out of there. And again, here's the line of storms that now no longer have warnings with them, but special weather statements that are in place across much of the remainder of central and northern Vermont, so that Waterbury, Morrisville, Newport, we talked about Lake Memphremagog being on the leading edge to this thing. Let's see. Mark says, great information. Good. I'm glad. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate that. Dawn says, happy 4th. Thank you, Dawn. Tracy, thanks, mate. Thank you, Tracy and Kevin here in Northampton. We have sun, humid, but it's coming later. Yep, you're right, Kevin. That's right. It's coming later. One of the things that we talked about a short time ago is I think we're probably talking about what will be an arrival for you late afternoon to early evening, and that is going to be probably some stronger storms. In fact, indications are Pioneer Valley, Springfield, Hartford may end up with one of the strongest, kind of events out of what we get. But we'll see. We'll see. Reality and guidance isn't always the same. All right, back down we go to the beaches. Let's take you live to Hampton, Salisbury, Seabrook. We'll go ahead and we're going to switch things over to the Taunton radar out of Massachusetts. I think they do a very good job in terms of picking up on the intensity here. Even though gray Maine you would think would be closer, a lot of times you get the radar beam's a little bit stronger and a little bit better resolution coming out of Taunton, Mass. So Hampton, good news for you. Look at this. That downpour coming out of Kensington has continued to weaken. So good. We noticed a trend that over 40 minutes and now what's been 50 minutes, we had not seen any cloud-to-ground lightning strikes en route to Seabrook and Hampton. So far, that continues to be the case, and I can tell you just through experience, when I look at that core of rain and downpour over Kensington, that should not produce lightning. Unless it were to greatly ramp up, that should not produce lightning. So this is one of what I hope is the benefits of watching us here at the 1 Degree Outside Weather Network, is that you actually are able to get the real-time analysis. And although we don't always do this, in terms of watching just the individual storms, if they're not real severe and real damaging, on a day like today, we know how many people are out there, and so we think that certainly is an important thing to do. Any new lightning strikes around Portsmouth? You've got one up by Newington. We had shown you one earlier. It looks like we've had one more new one right at the river. And I'm looking for it on here, and I don't see it, but I see it on the International Lightning Network. So I know it's been up there. I know between Elliott and Newington, we've had one more strike. I would say that at this point, anywhere from Portsmouth Harbor, even Rye to the north, you still need to be very cognizant of the potential for lightning. We just did have, look at that, a lightning strike now right at Bald Head, just south of Ogunquit. You had a cloud-to-ground strike, and I hate to see that when it's right at the coast like that, because on a day like today, you've got folks who are out there. But that is one spot that we've had a cloud-to-ground strike just in the last about minute or so out at Bald Head. So again, you want to take this stuff seriously if you're watching us and you're out at the beaches. Let me swing over to the gray Maine radar for this. And see, it doesn't look nearly as impressive on the gray Maine radar, right? Doesn't that look like it's just a shower? But we know, you can see there's the lightning strike. So there you go. And out of Norton, out of Taunton, Mass, you've got a much better representation, even though you're in southern Maine, of what's going on. Red Sox fan, will there be a severe thunderstorm watch in Middlesex County, Mass? That's quite possible. You know what? Red Sox fan and Daniel Durso both checking in on the same thing here. We haven't done this in a while, so let me zoom the view out. And what I want to do is I want to do something that we did probably a good, my goodness, 20 minutes, 25 minutes ago now, which is I want to take you to the forecast maps and show you what we're going to be looking at here over the next several hours, okay? One of the things I'm going to do is show you where the thunderstorm energy is right now. Let me make sure you're seeing it right. Yep, you are. Good. So notice your thunderstorm energy now has been greatest in Maine. It's greatest along the Maine Turnpike and running up through the coast of Maine. The farther west you go, you don't see a lot of thunderstorm energy from Hartford running up through, let's say, Mass Turnpike. Middlesex County, we've actually exhausted a little bit of the thunderstorm energy because of the showers, downpours that came with the gust front. They were scattered, but the gust front itself brought cool air. So that brought your temperature down, and now you don't have as much thunderstorm energy. But do you notice it rebuilding along Route 2, out through Fitchburg, through Hardwick, and then running out through Amherst? So we think this is the beginning of what's going to end up being a trend. So what I'll do is I'll play things out over the course of the next 6 hours, but I'll stop it every 2 hours along the way. Notice the rebuild in thunderstorm energy by about 3:15 that includes Middlesex County, central Massachusetts, and then down to the Pioneer Valley and lower Connecticut River Valley. And you still see that build up, maybe not at some place so much like Lowell, but when you get around Acton or Concord and down through Marlborough, you see it start to rebuild again during the course of the early evening. And then if we go out farther, that's kind of your axis. So basically, what we're saying here is if you translate that, we're saying anywhere near and south of that outflow boundary that we were watching is someplace that we may find the storms firing up later. You say, well, what about the modeling? Is there any guidance that would indicate that? So yes, we can play things out. I'll stop along the way. Notice by 3:30 this afternoon, you've got the storms that are still rumbling in the north. There's the new storms, though. I think the guidance here is going to be a little slow. I think that we're going to get into this by about 3:30 to 4 coming out of western portions of Mass. I also think that as this trigger comes in the late afternoon, you've got the potential that you'll be actually able to generate storms out ahead of the main trigger. So I think that, in other words, someplace like Middlesex County or the Mass Turnpike will get scattered action even during the mid to late afternoon before the next trigger arrives. And that would be my guess anyway, just based upon the amount of heat and humidity we have. Notice at 7:30, you've still got these multiple rounds of storms, right? So that gives you the chance in Middlesex County, but also Boston area, Worcester. So my concern here becomes folks that are going to be out during the course of the early evening. Now, fireworks time, I think we lose a lot of the heating of the day, so there'll still be some isolated, unlucky storms that'll be around, or folks who are unlucky and have the storms over them at fireworks time. Most of us should start to see an improvement in conditions by that point. So again, just to kind of round out that question about, you know, in terms of Middlesex County or anybody else for that matter, and what you might be looking at, essentially what we've seen is we've seen an outflow boundary or an exhaust, a cool air exhaust, coming out of these storms, all right, that made it down to about the Mass Turnpike. And the reason that that's important, I think, is because that will, later in the day, serve as a focal point for storms. I think you're going to find this action that's out across portions of upstate New York. As it moves east, you'll do two things. You're going to develop scattered activity out along and ahead of this, and you can actually see some of the showers in the Catskills trying to take off already, as well as out by the Hudson River Valley. I think you're going to see stuff like that developing all in across this area, all right? And then you're going to see the actual core of that swinging in, which is why I'm saying I think that the Pioneer Valley, the lower Connecticut River Valley, central western Connecticut is going to be one area that's really going to be on guard, maybe southwest Connecticut as well. And then any place essentially east of that would be areas that we would have to watch as we get into the evening. With the areas farther to the north, like the Mass Pike in Middlesex County, basically depending on what happens to that outflow boundary, that cool air line, if it can migrate northward just a little bit, and you can have a little bit of a return of warm air that starts coming back up, then you're going to end up with that storm threat going all the way back up to Route 2 again and back up to the Merrimack Valley again. So I hope that makes sense anyway as to how I see things shaking out. Farther to the north, when you get into central Maine, we still have the line of storms coming through. There has been a flash flood warning that was issued on the backside of these storms. That's out until 3:15 for Piscataquis County, Maine. You've got more storms. See what I mean about multiple rounds of storms. Here we go. The stuff over Lake Memphremagog right now continues through Pittsburgh and Lake Francis. And then you've got more still that's got to come back out of Quebec, and that's got to rumble through. And look at it, it goes all the way back to Ottawa. So that's why I think we still have more that we have to deal with, multiple rounds. It's just going to be a matter of now, one of the interesting things is once you start getting into this type of a setup where you've had storms already, you start getting all these boundary zones. And so, in other words, you get all these areas where the wind is shifting around, the cool air and the warm air are colliding and conflicting. And so you end up essentially with multiple spots that storms can develop over the course of the day. All right, Peter Lavasco says severe watch is issued. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. So one of the things that we'll do is we'll get the update there. And stand by. Yep, there you go. The exact area. Sorry, let me switch it over for you. Stand by. All right, so here we go. There's your severe thunderstorm watch that is out for this entire area of southern New England, the whole area we just outlined, right? So you got a real-time meteorological analysis in terms of what was happening, and now you've got the the watch that's been issued to go with it. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, at this point, I think probably stand down for a little while. Let's see. Well, we have about 500 of you watching, so maybe not. You're with us, and I appreciate it. But I think at this point, what I'd like to do is stand down on this because I want to get the updates out on our app and in social media regarding the new watch. And I'm going to come back. I will put an alert back out when I come back up again. So you're going to see that in our app, have notifications turned on. I'll make sure that I get that out again. We're also going to do the same thing on social media. We will send out another alert on social media. But really the best way, if you don't have our app, please do make sure you download it because that's the way that you're going to hear about us every single time. It's called 1 Degree Outside, the number 1 degree outside. You just type that into to the App Store or Google Play. 5 stars, folks love it. It's got a lot of help for you. Make sure you turn notifications on. Make sure you turn on the location services. A lot of folks don't like to turn on location because they don't want anybody knowing their location. Folks, look, Danielle and I built the app ourselves with an app development team. I can promise you and tell you we are doing absolutely nothing with your location except issuing those alerts and those warnings, all right? So just keep that in mind. That's where we're at with that. And I would tell you if that ever changed, and you could change your settings if you wanted to, but we purely are using that for the alerts. So make sure you've got location and notification turned on so that we can alert you later on in the day as warnings come through, okay? So last kind of roundup for you. You can see behind me, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect for Middlebury, Vermont. You've got the storms coming over Lake Memphremagog, and at mid-coast Maine, we think the storms will not be damaging, but there'll be some thunder and lightning. And when you get around central Maine and northern Maine, we continue to deal with these storms. You can track that all with the radar tab on our app as well. We also have radar with storm reports if you need it on our website, onedegreeoutside.com. So again, I'll stand down so I can get this, this post out for folks regarding the new severe thunderstorm watch, but I will be back with you again later on as conditions warrant. It'll be a long day, and we'll keep you posted. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you chiming in, and spread the word. Let folks know you watched this if you liked it. Let them know that, that they need to get the app, and we want to get them on board, because the idea is keeping folks safe and informed, and that's what it's all about.